Good morning. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this image that I went on the internet and grabbed, which is a old box of Captain Crunch, and we're going to turn it from a design using with text into a non-representational abstract art piece in the style of artists that we've looked at. So the first thing I'm going to do, which I actually already did once, is I duplicated my background. Again, I always stress that you should duplicate the background and turn that off. That allows us to go back to that if we need that source image. So again, one of the things I always like to do when I'm working in a Photoshop style program is duplicate my original source and just turn the eye off so that I still have it there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to need a larger work surface to work on. So I'm going to go ahead and add more negative space to the outside of my composition so that I can use that space. And I will recrop it back down, but just for workspace, I need more. So what I'm going to do there is use the crop tool, which is right here underneath this jelly bean looking guy. So there's the crop tool. And remember, if I use the crop tool and I go larger than my actual design, it will actually give me more space to work. And I like having that, especially for what I'm about to do. Now, in class, we created our separate typefaces, and we looked at all those. We laid them all out using either oil pastels or paint, and then we cut those into pieces. So I'm going to do the same thing virtually here, and all I'm going to do to cut up my Captain Crunch is basically take any of my selections and I'm just going to move them apart like this. Now again, they could be different sizes. That would be fine. Or you can make them all the same. It's really your call. And again, I'm just using the marquee selection tool here, and right above it is the move tool. And I'm just kind of moving them out. And again, you can make whatever size selections you would like. And you can always make them even smaller. We can cut them more, just like if we had scissors. Now, our main composition can definitely become smaller than the original, which most of your actual art would already. But the other reason I like to keep this first image invisible is because the other thing I'm able to do here, and I'm using Control-D to deselect. It's an easy way to deselect your marquees, but I can still see where that original would have gone. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to put my pieces back into that space, okay, but I'm going to rotate them, flip them, and create an interesting design. So before I even do that, I'm just going to make a little frame here, just so I can kind of stay inside of a certain size. Now, again, you don't necessarily have to do this part. I think this would just make it easier for me. So essentially, that's my piece of paper. Now, what I'm going to do is select these different pieces. Again, they're all separate, but I'll have to use this marquee selection tool again because they're not separate layers. Now, if you wanted to make them all into a separate layer, you could do that, but it would probably take just as long as reselecting them. So all I'm going to do here is using my marquee selection tool, and then I'm going to use my 2-finger click on a Chromebook or a right click on a mouse, if you have a mouse. And I'm going to go down to Free Transform. And what that will allow me to do is manipulate the shape. Now, I'm not going to stretch it or anything like that. I'm simply going to add these to certain areas. And again, we don't want to necessarily overlap them to begin with because they are all the same layer. Now, if we put them on a separate layer, you can overlap all day. But for now, we're just going to kind of plug them in and see what we can do. So as I lay these out, again, they might overlap, it's fine, but I'm trying to use the principles of design. And we can add more cuts, like I said, to this as we go. But really, we're just trying to have a little bit of fun with it and create an interesting design. we're trying to eliminate the fact that it was a Captain Crunch box and make it more into just a art piece that's not necessarily anything in particular except design. And again, I do realize that we are going to need to move a couple pieces around, and that's fine. We'll have to do that later though. Right now I'm just trying to kind of work everything in. Again, when you're on the marquee selection tool over here on the left, I'm going to right click or two finger click again, free transform, and that allows me to rotate my pieces. I like where it says love that crunch, so I kind of want to keep that. I'm not a huge fan of the ad that was on this box. We'll keep it for now. I think we might even keep it. Well, we could do. So it looks like I had a bad selection there, if you notice. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. So we eliminate that piece. And again, you can feel free to move them however you want. I am going to try my best to fit them in. Again, I don't expect them to all fit. The last thing I'm going to do is crop them, just like you're going to do in class. I will actually crop your paper. And we don't want any of that turquoise-ish color to be coming through. But if we end up with some, it's not the end of the world. All right. So I do have a little bit of that showing through, but I kept my background. So if you'll notice here, there's my original. And it also helps because if I lay this over top, it kind of hides where I made my mistakes. Now I am going to crop this. I'm going to bring it back in. And then I am going to leave that back layer. Now, again, we're trying to use the principles of design here. So when we look at the principles of design, we need to discuss if this actually worked. So first and foremost, I do think I could have done better. I feel like there's way too much emphasis on the center. And again, one of the main things I try to teach you is dead center is dead wrong when we're trying to make a composition. We want our composition to hit more in the hot spots. And again, our hot spots are similar to a hashtag, and I'll just draw those here. And I won't, or I won't draw them. I'm drawing them on the background. Oops. Let's edit, undo. So again, remember, make sure you're on the correct layer. Okay, so I'm on the correct layer now. And I'm again on my brush right there. Pick black. And I'm just going to draw a very simple grid. Oh, I can't draw a straight line with a mouse, but it's close enough. So keep in mind our hot spots that we talked about. So when I say dead center is dead wrong, I am trying to get you to draw or to create your emphasis in these areas or along these vertical and horizontal lines. Remember, those are the hot spots. So if I do that and I lay this here, you can see that some of this does fall in there, but I think what I really should have done is had his eyes up a little higher. If I did this again, I would definitely put his eyes a little higher up. We could even crop it more. Maybe manipulate the grid without even doing it. And again, it does focus it a little better. So again, this is non-representational abstract art. We are trying to take a existing image that is very recognizable and preferably with text. That's why I like using something like a cereal box. And taking that, rearranging the pieces and laying them back out so that it doesn't become about the original product. We don't really see, we can tell that this was a Captain Crunch box, but really what we're trying to focus on are the principles of design. Again, balance, contrast, emphasis, movement, pattern, all of those things. All right, good luck.